Hello, everybody. It is Dom again here in on YouTube, on Facebook, coming at you live with our Survivor season recap with one of our finalists. We will be going in depth on the season, going episode by episode, diving into their game, getting the backstories, the thought processes, all that fun stuff. We have done 3 so far, one with Carrie, one with Luke, and yesterday's with Zoe. So if you haven't caught up on those, definitely go and check those out. It should be said without warning, but there is going to be massive spoilers, not only for the finale episode, but for the rest of the season. So keep that in mind. And without further ado, please help me welcome our runner-up, our first runner-up, Aubrey. How's it going?
Hey, hey Dom, how's it going?
It's going good. It's good to have you here.
So excited to be here. Been watching all these, excited to do my own.
Yeah, so you've seen some of the other podcasts and the conversations that we've been having.
I've seen some of them. I needed to see what the vibes were, see what kind of questions there'd be. So I did a little research.
Yeah. It sounded like you also told me that you went back and rewatched some of the season. So where
I
did
did.
you?
I just needed to see it all play out in order because obviously it's been a while, so I needed to remember things from the beginning, remember how I was feeling at certain parts. So it was honestly so helpful. Obviously I'd watched it all, but seeing it a second time definitely saw some new things, got some new takeaways. So I'm ready to dive into it all.
Yeah. So we can just kick off. You started the season, you were cast because you were Sydney's sister. So Sydney came and she played fresh meat. And when Charlie told me that, oh, some of Sydney's siblings were interested in playing, I think Cooper and your brother Cooper and yourself were in the mix. And those were going to be our partnerships for Bad Blood. Helped inspire part of that pairing. So I don't know if you knew that, but we were going to cast you guys as partners. But
Yeah, I've heard.
it ended up just being you. So coming into the season, I guess, tell us a little bit about your experience with Survivor, experience with, fresh meat, your experience with your sister. Like, what was your mindset coming in, of Bad Blood?
Yeah. So I grew up watching all of CBS Survivor. My family used to pile in the living room every Wednesday and watch it, root for our favorites. So I was pretty familiar with the game, but I hadn't watched in a couple seasons, but I definitely knew the basics and compared to some people, knew at least how the game worked, knew what an idol was and the merge and things like that. So I had definitely an understanding of the game. And then as for Survivor Dearborn, Grand Rapids World, when Sydney and Charlie started dating, we watched some of Charlie's seasons. Was he on 2, I think?
Yeah, he's on 2 and 4.
We watched some of those episodes for sure. So I had seen a little bit of his seasons and kind of was understanding the way that you ran things. And then obviously for Sydney's, my whole family watched every episode, and obviously she made it to the end. So had a lot of content to take in and analyze her game and stuff. So I think I came in knowing a decent amount about Survivor and a little bit about how you did things over here. I mean, obviously I talked a lot with Sydney about her experience, and that's the whole reason I came out, is because of how much fun she had and Charlie has had. So I knew a little bit of what I was getting into, but nothing compares till you're there and going through it, really.
Yeah, I mean, you came in, I felt you were 19 years old at the time and second youngest person there. Allie was 18. But you came in with such a mature mindset. That was something that we kept talking about in podcasts of the past. I guess, would you consider yourself maybe a bigger fan than Sydney? I felt like you really hit the ground running. I mean, Sydney also, not to compare and contrast, not saying also Sydney did not approach the game maturely, but I felt maybe fresh meat, it took a little bit of time for the game to get going, but you were also just on the ground, organizing votes maybe from day one. What was your comparing to Sydney, what was your level of knowledge of Survivor? Are you the bigger fan in the Hickmott family?
Yeah, I would say maybe so. I feel we were probably even as we were growing up, we would all watch it together. But, you know, she was like away at college. I don't know if she stayed that into it. And then I was like just starting college. So I, you know, still watched it in high school and everything. And so I would say I was definitely a little bit more into like the CBS version. And then I think it helped so much that like she had already done your version and like allowed me to like really dive into things. Cause if I would have gone first, like I think I probably would have played a game like at the beginning a little more similar to hers, like a little more shy and stuff. But I think like, you know, having her and Charlie there and like they had both done it and they just, you know, like told me to be comfortable and go for it all. So I feel like her going first is like what helped me be a little bit more comfortable. But I still think like at the beginning, I was like a little bit more shy at first. I mean, it's like super intimidating coming into a group of like people who are 5, 6, 7 years older than you. And like, I had just finished my first year of college. I knew no one there. Like Sydney and Charlie like were dating, but like he wasn't my brother yet. Like, you know, it was like a really unfamiliar setting. So I feel like I was still pretty like timid at first.
Yeah, I mean, the game you also similar to Sydney. Like it's kind of crazy how the parallels happen for the both of you, where you start off but on the losing tribe, not just the losing tribe, but the losing tribe in the backyard, and just continuously lose.
Bad luck.
And
we gotta switch things up.
Yeah, maybe, but you continuously pick up that speed to eventually the point where you both end up at final tribal. But I guess question for you with when coming in, did you have like a strategy? Did you want to like play similar to Sydney? Did you want to play like your own game or play somebody similar to, I guess, you know, CBS Survivor?
Yeah, I think that like coming in, I do think I like kind of stuck to the strategy I want. Like I think I didn't really make enemies at the beginning. And like I feel like the first few votes, like I kind of stood back a little. Like there were definitely some louder voices in my tribe at first. And then I feel like once you get like, I mean, obviously when you get numbers down how we were, like you have to start having the voice. And so I would say like I kind of came in with a strategy like staying back a little bit at the beginning because at first there's just like nothing to go based off of for who to vote out. So I was trying to just blend in with the crowd, be easygoing and stuff. And then it pretty quickly transitioned into like, oh, there's like 7 of us left. You like have to be a leader and like have an opinion with that. So I think a little bit of like a mix of both. I definitely wanted to be a strong player as the game moved on and like be leading some of those votes and stuff. So I think in that sense, like I played how I wanted to. But definitely like sat back a little bit for like maybe the first couple and went with the flow at first.
Yeah, I mean, there's no pressure to come out swinging. I mean, we saw that, you know, the yellow tribe had their fair share of doing that. And I think it's a lot easier to do when you're on the winning side of things and building a lot of things. But yeah, you guys were under the gun kind of immediately. But again, going back to that beginning, you come in, you don't know anybody. I feel like you might have been one of the least connected ones there. I you know, either you, Luke, and I don't know, but basically you came in not really knowing anybody. You get partnered with McGingo. We have that partnership pair. You're one of the people that doesn't really know their partner, kind of meeting them for the first time. Like, what are your thoughts going on with this partnership, like, and how that would play out in the game?
Yeah, so I think for me, like since I was one of the partnerships that didn't like I wasn't dating them, it wasn't my sister. So I didn't really like clock that we were like gonna be partners until you like told us. Like I just thought it was a coincidence that like one of Sydney's other friends was like gonna be in the game as well. Versus like I'm assuming like the significant others and like the siblings, they probably had a better idea that there was something going on. So I was like pretty shocked when the whole like partner thing happened. And I was excited. Like I didn't really know McGingo. I don't even know. I maybe met her like once or twice, like at Sydney's events or something, but I really didn't know her at all. But I knew she was like super outgoing and super charismatic. And so I thought that if anything, like that would be great for like me and my game and stuff, because I think she would be someone that a lot of people would like want to be talking to and aligning with. So I was really excited about it. It ended up like nothing really came out of it. We just never played together, unfortunately. But the fact that like we were on separate tribes from the beginning, we kind of stuck that way the whole time. So I was excited, but I wish we would have gotten like more of a chance to play together because I think it would have been fun.
Yeah, definitely. So So we start off the game and we do that first initial twist of, the partners. We do the second twist of voting somebody off immediately. And then we do the third twist of Exile Island. Like, I guess there was kind of a whirlwind going on. I guess talk us through your thoughts of, standing on the mat, like those first three in the game. Did it affect how you were going to interact with your tribe? And did it pinpoint anybody that you were like, okay, like I should be working with this person?
Yeah, I'll say it affects the way that I was just like seeing the game, in the sense that it was like, okay, it's on. Like, it wasn't just like, here's your buffs and now let's go back to our camps and like get to know each other. Like, it really just kicks the game off running. And so I think that that was like a quick like slap in the face, like lock in, like you could have been the person going to exile right now. So I think that that was a really fun twist at the beginning to really like get everyone in the game mindset. On my tribe, like we were so split in our votes that I don't think it like immediately was like, oh, like this person is someone I'm going to work with. Cause I honestly think we just all looked around and like wrote down whichever name we remembered from the ones you had said so far, because our tribe was like so split. So I don't think it like immediately was like, this is who I'm going to work with. This is who I'm going to be going against. Whereas on like the other tribe, I feel like maybe it was more of like a cohesive vote. So, well, it was, but so yeah, I think it was like, it didn't necessarily like kick off any like big bonds or anything, but it more so was just like, okay, like this is on, like the game has begun.
Yeah. Yeah. So the game begins, you guys do your reward challenge, then you head back to camp. Who were you really gravitating towards, like right off the bat? Like who was somebody, or, multiple people that you were connecting with? And maybe tell us a little bit about how you read those tribe dynamics early on.
Yeah. I mean, I think like after the reward challenge, everyone was like, it doesn't matter. Like, it was just a reward. We're not going to tribal yet. Yeah. And like spirits were still high. We hadn't gotten on our losing streak yet. I would say like some of the people I was like maybe gravitating towards, James I drove up with from Detroit. So he was like one of the very few people that I at least had a couple conversations with. Hannah, like I knew that she had played before, and like she was like, same age as Sydney, like they had played together. So I feel like I was like seeing some like similarities there, like some familiarness for that. So I feel like those two, like right off the bat, I was just like a little bit more comfortable with, but I really like wasn't thinking much like bonds or like alliances like that early in the game. Like I think we were just, signing our banner and like trying to focus on the next challenge and getting a win, which didn't happen for a while.
Yeah. So, I mean, those first two votes were pretty unanimous. It seemed like there was really no real tribe divide. And the first real shakeup of the game really came when you guys had to vote somebody off after that anti-reward challenge, which ended up being John. Mm-hmm. And there was that split between John and Carrie. And so John gets sent to the other tribe. And then Carrie is left at being back at camp. Now, that eventually leads to the Carrie versus Grace split, which you really spearheaded that vote to, keep Carrie along with Adrian, along with James, and making those decisions. I guess talk to us about that, voting John off, keeping Carrie, what was going through your head like during that time?
Yeah, so I remember, and I just kind of resaw this when I rewatched. I remember when, like you said, that we were voting someone off. I think that I like leaned into my group and I was like, they're not going home. Like, I was like, there's no way. Like, that would be so horrible. And like, you would kind of like teased it with the first one. And so I was like, I'm hoping that this again is someone not going home. I think like with John, it was like, he is going to like excel no matter what tribe he goes to. And I like knew that like, I didn't know he was going to the other tribe. Like, I didn't know it was going to be that twist, but I thought and I hoped that it wouldn't be like him going home. But if it would have been him going home, I mean, like right off the bat, he was just such a great player. So if it would have been him going home, like, I mean, he was already a threat at that point so early in the game. So I think like that was maybe part of the decision. And then with like a secret hope that he wasn't going home and something was going on with your plan, which it clearly was. And then for the Grace vote, I remember like Adrian being like really like spearheading that. And I remember when I like watched it back the first time and I was like Adrian, like, what? Like, this is like your number one right now. Like, I just had no idea in the game that like they were so close. And it was so funny, like, watching it back and him being like, what am I like? Why did I say this? Like, I don't want her gone. But I do think it was like a great move. I mean, like, she would have been like a really big threat moving forward in the game. She was so social so early. And like, I think she would have been really good in challenges and stuff. So, like, I think like people have said it, but like, definitely like an underground, like robbed, like she could have gone far, I think. But with that being said, like probably a good move because she could have gone far.
It was a great move. She was my preseason winner pick, so it was. I might have jinxed her on that one, but
Yeah, true.
in my preseason predictions, I think I said on yours that we might see another Hickmott in the final three. So I think
You got something right.
I got something. I got a couple things right, I think, on the preseason. Yeah. I'll have to go back and rewatch, but yeah, that really seemed like the first time that your game really opened up, and whether you were like targeting Grace for game, but like it really seemed like you were flipped a switch to start corralling those votes. You know, like aligning with Carrie a lot, and then pulling those votes to get them. That is going to be a relationship that we see on and off like throughout the season as you and Carrie. Like, talk to us a little bit about that relationship with Carrie early on, and then what might have, transpired over like the next like day or two of where that relationship ended up with Carrie.
Yeah, I agree. Like it was a very like on and off relationships in terms of like how much we were working together, but I honestly think that was like really beneficial for both of us because I felt like we had a pretty like fluid alliance. Like when we needed to work together and like when it was like saving her from like the Grace vote or something, like I was ready to like protect her. I don't know why. I think we just like connected early and I felt like closer to her. I hadn't talked like that much to Grace. So like in that example, I don't know if at the time I was like, Grace is some huge threat, but it was like I'm closer with Carrie at this point, and I'm just gonna kind of go with what Adrian's saying and start to get votes for her. So I think like at that point we were close, and then with all the tribe swaps and the exiles, like we definitely did ebb and flow in our relationship. I feel like there were times where we were less close with each other, but I never felt like I was like, I might be remembering wrong, but I don't think I was ever like actively like wanting her out. I feel like it was either like I was voting with her or I was like voting for someone else, but like not with her, but not her, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I never felt like I like needed to be getting her out. I didn't feel like our games were like that similar, like getting into like future when we're thinking about like jury and stuff like that. So I really, yeah, our relationship did like flow a lot. In the end, like I wanted to be like sitting next to her at the end, which like I'm sure we'll get into. But I think like at that point, our like relationship, like I thought was closer, and like I thought that we were, back at like that allies who like started together and now we're ending together. So there were moments of like closeness and not closeness, but I never wanted to like go for her. And from what I remember, I don't feel like she ever like really pitched my name. I don't know.
I mean, it was mutually beneficial. It felt like, I mean, there are multiple conversations, especially when we get to that, Tyler, Sam, Allie stretch of vote outs where you're like kind of okay if Carrie does go home, just like on an idle play or something. But I don't think you were ever actively like pushing for a Carrie vote. Like that was never really the top of your game. And even like, I think in like, it doesn't really make the cut because there wasn't really a consistent storyline with it or consistent, I guess, case for it. But I think you and Carrie would really, both say in your confessionals, like, yeah, we've been kind of working, like, I kind of trust her. I kind of trust, I trust what she's saying. I trust, what her read on things. So there seemed to be a mutual respect for the other person's like game at that point.
I was just going to add in, like, I feel like that was a big thing. Like, I thought that, like, she had a good understanding of the game and, like, I knew that she was really smart. And so I felt like, if anything, like, she's going to at least, like, know what's going on and, like, have some, like, good ideas about what could be next and stuff. So I definitely agree, like, definitely respected the game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but then on the flip side of that, you get to watch back and you get to see how her whole idol thing with Josie plays out. I guess what was your like thoughts watching all of that kind of transpire like over the course of the couple episodes?
That was like crazy. I had no idea that like Carrie had gotten anything. And I remember like in one of my confessionals, I think I'm like, I 100% believe her. Like, there's no way she got anything. Like, she would tell us we're like really close, and then it like cuts to her, and she's like, just got the idol or something. So I definitely like that was a shock to see, and obviously it like never came to play from her. So like it wasn't something that we ever found out in the game. Like a lot of these things like happen early, and then like a few episodes later it's revealed, and everyone's like, oh, we didn't know and stuff. This like I didn't know until I watched the season back, because it like she never let that secret go. She didn't talk about it at Final Tribal, like nothing. That was like buried with her. So I had no idea about the idol. I had no idea about the Josie thing. And that was like, I mean, obviously that was a huge move in the game. Like that was the craziest tribal ever with James and stuff. So that was like a shock to me, like jaw on the floor while I was watching that.
Yeah, I mean, it's also kind of funny. This also was on the cutting room floor. Carrie probably sat, Charlie was filming her confessional, and she probably sat for like 3-4 minutes, like deciding if she was gonna like tell the jury about her idol play with Josie. And I think she ultimately was like the jury shouldn't know about that. I don't think so. Like, I think I'm just gonna leave it out. So I think
that whole storyline just got like so mixed up and like intertwined, like Josie's story and Carrie's story, and it was just I wasn't really that a part of it, because like it was way more impacting like the Yellow Tribe. So luckily, like it kind of we just like believed that Carrie, or I just believed that Carrie didn't have anything, and it never really came to like necessarily like bite me in the back. So it kind of like didn't affect me too much, but watching it back I was like amazed at everything that was going on behind the scenes with that little dude.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll jump right into it. Like, speaking of things that you didn't really get to see until the season aired, like what were your thoughts on the Yellow Tribe? So I guess we'll frame this segment about like what was your perception of what was going on over there on Vengeance, like leading up to that merge tribal, and then what was it like watching it back and seeing like their whole drama that they had unfolding over there.
Yeah, I feel like when we were like playing and when we were on our losing streak, it was like we would kind of joke that like, oh, like Vengeance is just like sipping and eating on the porch, like just chilling, and like we kind of like knew that. I'm sure like some talk is going on and stuff, but like watching it back, it was like really way more than I thought it would have been. They just like internally like exploded, like, and there was really no reason to, but made for good TV and stuff, and it did like impact things later in the game. But I was shocked, like I had no idea that Josh was like so like in the game. Like I just was like not clocking that at all. And like even when in like a couple tribals and stuff, we like end up on the same tribe for a minute, and like I just like did not know like the strategy that he was playing with, like on that other side of things, and like really being like a leader over there and stuff. So it was fun to watch back. Like obviously had no idea what was going on over there. Also interesting to like see what was happening with like the end in mind, because like if you look at that tribe for like the first 5 people who go home or something on my team, like Luke's like in the bottom, like McGingo's in the bottom, like people who like end up making like the jury and like make it far are like really not in this like power group that's leading things. So it was interesting to like watch it back and see where everyone was like placing their bets and stuff.
Yeah, so everything comes to fruition at that joint tribal council. You pull out a individual immunity win, and you're safe there. Describe that for us. That joint tribal, James goes home. Like, I mean, as a Survivor fan that you've told us at the beginning, like, what is your vibe on that? And then what was it like as a player, I guess?
Yeah, it was literally insane, both in the game and watching the game. I remember like standing under the Vendetta tree and just being like, what can we do to like try to shake things up a little bit? And like obviously that gets shown in the episode and stuff, but it just felt even more intense when we were there and just like scraping our brains for any sort of hope that there could be for, I mean, I think it was 6-11 at that point, or 7-11 or something. Like we were just like, what on earth could we do to like shake things up a bit? And I mean, we put up a great fight. Obviously, we got the numbers, like getting all up with our partners, like that was just peak, like peak TV, peak Survivor moment. Like that travel was just insane, and it was so fun, like getting to be active in that part of it, even if it didn't like work out the way we necessarily wanted it to. But like that was like a legendary way for James to go out, even though it sucked. But I mean, it was so fun, and getting to talk with our partners and stuff. I can't really remember if, I think maybe mine didn't work so well. I think like McGingo, I can't remember if she flipped or not, but
she flipped, but she also told Josie that you guys were voting for her. So it was.
Carrie gave the idol to Josie. Yep. Yeah. That was like crazy. And then watching it back and seeing Carrie, who like we just spent this entire last like canoodling session planning this whole thing out, and then just watching her like blow it all up in our face was, I mean, a great move, but it was just crazy to watch it and be a part of. So super great Survivor moment for sure. Biggest tribal ever.
Yeah, biggest tribal, biggest moment. It felt like that was really fun to edit, and it was really kind of like a hot box of just everybody was stir crazy over at Vengeance. You guys were depleted over at Vendetta. So like coming together and just seeing what that day concluded with, and then it ultimately concludes with this massive storm overnight. Tell us a little bit about your night one, in the elements. Are you used to camping, or was that kind of like, tough for you to deal with? Yeah. How's
like I've like glamped a few times with my family. We used to have like a nice trailer and stuff, but never like actively slept outside in like a severe thunderstorm. So that was new. We were in the barn at first, and like it was like visibly shaking. Like we were like, okay, I think this maybe isn't safe. So we ended up in the basement for a little bit of the night, but like just like slept horribly and like got wet running to the basement, and like it was a little bit rough, and it was after quite a brutal beatdown of a day. So it wasn't exactly the like restful night's sleep that I think we could have used, but we woke up the next morning, got after it again.
Yeah. So you woke up, so we end up swapping, but you end up finding that immunity idol that Hannah shared with the tribe. So we got some fun technicalities for you, Aubrey. Like you technically won an individual immunity at the, on day one. And you technically have also found an idol, but unfortunately you weren't able to keep that idol. So you found that idol. I guess what is going through your head when you find that idol? Like, are you thinking of, there is a second, I had to edit it, like, oh, I found the idol, but like there is a clip of you being like,
yeah.
Or like, what can I do?
Yeah, that was like one of the biggest things that I noticed like in the editing. Like I remember, because there just like I feel like there wasn't a camera by me or something, and like I was just deep in there, and I remember seeing it, and I like for probably like 20 seconds was like, how can I like not tell my tribe that I found this? And I was like trying to be like a little sneaky snake and like figure out how I could use this like for me. And then I was just like, I don't even know. Like my brain was all over the place, and I was just like, I found it. And so then everyone obviously came over and read it, but there was definitely a moment, and it is shown in the episode, because as we're like walking away with my tribe, I like look back at the camera and I'm like mad at myself for like telling them. But I think like, I mean, it was like someone had to know. It wasn't like a typical idol anyways. So like people had to know about it, and like it ended up like working out fine. But I remember being like, oh, like I should have like tried to just keep that for myself. But it was such a group effort that like honestly we deserve to have something good on that tribe for us.
You do I remember you ended up polling me, and you were like, hey, did you need that pink rock? Because I threw it into the corn so that nobody would find it, because it was buried under the pink gem.
I forgot about that. Yeah. I like really for a second was like, I'm keeping this, and like threw that gem like away and didn't want anyone to come see that I found it.
Yeah. And then, you end up swapping. So you end up doing that swap at the tribe swap. Allie ends up getting it. And we see Allie and Tyler kind of go a little power crazy with that idol. in the moment, did you like think about giving it to Allie, or was like there a plan doing that? Like we really haven't talked to anybody about that. So I guess now that we have you here who handed the idol off, what was that, process going like?
Yeah, I think that I don't think we like planned to give it to Allie or planned to give it to anyone. It was like at that point, I like thought that our tribe was like really strong together because we had gone through like such a brutal first day. Like we were not down to very many left. And like we knew whatever way that like this tribe swap was about to happen, we were going to be outnumbered. So
Yeah.
I remember like it needed to get swapped. Like that was the rules of the idol. And so I remember that we were just like, I just gave it to whoever. I don't think I planned out Allie or anything, but we were just like in our little group hug, and whoever I gave it to got it, I think.
It was a slick move. What were your thoughts? I mean, obviously we'll go into your new tribe, but over on the new Vengeance tribe, you have the Postma siblings finally reuniting. You have Adrian, Carrie from your OG Vendetta. John's over there, Eli's over there, Brooklyn's over there. What are your thoughts, seeing everybody together and seeing how Allie kind of like starts flipping on that OG Vendetta, like watching that back even. Like, were you surprised by that, I guess?
Yeah, I think that like in the game, I just like didn't really like recognize like how big of a deal it was that she was going to be with Tyler again. Like obviously thinking back on it, like I should have, like they're siblings, of course they're going to like work together, and like that's going to immediately be her number one over the people she's worked with for like 12 hours. But in the moment, like I didn't think that much of it. I think that I was just so focused on my own tribe, like in the moment, of course. We were like very outnumbered, and I still had Hannah, who like was one of my like closer of the original Vendetta, so like I was happy about that. But yeah, like watching it back, like seeing Allie kind of like start to turn on green and like go with her brother and stuff, like it was definitely interesting to watch back and see, because I just like wasn't thinking about that side of the thing like at all. It was like all focused on getting to the next tribal.
It is like we talked about it again past podcast, but it is one of those doses where Survivor just kind of gives you karma. Like you give Allie the idol and she uses it against you guys in more of a threatening way of like, we have this idol, like we can make these moves, and then she forgets it at the tribal council they were going to go for you at, ultimately resulting in her brother going home. So there's bad blood that you don't even dish out, that the game can sometimes just dish out.
That's right. I didn't even really like put any of that together. That's funny.
This season has a lot of just like intricate, like just happenstances of things coming to fruition, whether it be our final three being connected all to past winners before, or like I don't know, that happening. Like there's a lot of just like natural storylines that play out that have this Shakespearean tragedy aspect to it, or just ultimate rising to the occasion type of story. So it's a great season, especially on a rewatch, because now I get to rewatch it and I get to be like a fan, and I'm not like critiquing my work when I
probably so much better.
Yes. And you have Luke in the comments saying the GOAT. So
Luke, just wait till we get to our alliance. We'll get there.
We're about to dive into that Luke v. Josh tribal. So tell us a little bit about that. You swap, you get Hannah, who you have been building this relationship with. Obviously kind of seems like a very genuine relationship. It seemed like you guys were friends before, starting talking game with each other, but you also get her +1. So tell us a little bit about that, of what your thoughts were with Hannah on your swap tribe, and then what it was, going through your head when Josh joined you guys.
Yeah, I think like one of the first like clips of our new tribe is like pretty much my like first interaction with Luke, and I like walk up to him and we both like at the exact same time are like, Hannah and Josh can't be together. Like we both like were on the exact same page from the first moment. I remember like saying that like Hannah's my number one, and like I'm just so obviously not hers, which like is so understandable, but I was like, that won't work for me. Like if she's my number one, like I need to be her number one, at least at this point in the game, when it's like still pretty early and like we're still pretty outnumbered right now. So yeah, I was pretty quickly on board with the Josh vote out. Like I said earlier, like I didn't know he was so like into it. Like I didn't know he was like such a ringleader on that other side of things. Like I wouldn't say I saw it as like an easy vote out by any means, but like I didn't know like how schemy he was being and like strategic and stuff. So I definitely was just like, if I'm not Hannah's number one, like he's got to go.
Yeah, I mean that seemed to be a lot of people's at least reaction during that swap section. Like you weren't really sure about how strong these connections were, of
Yeah.
whether it was, maybe Luke not thinking that Zoe voted with you guys, or you not seeing that Josh, more people flipped on Josh than maybe expected at that point, So who from Vengeance? You say that you talked to Luke kind of immediately. Talk about that. What about Samantha, Magingo, Zoe? Like, where were you at with them during that conversation? Because at least on that round, it might have seemed like you were still kind of with Hannah a little bit, at least from the footage that I was able to gather. But yeah, how did you approach moving forward with those Vengeance people that came over?
Yeah, I think that it helped that Magingo came over. Like, obviously, she was my partner in the game, and this was like our first time like interacting. So it wasn't even like this is going to be like my new strongest ally, but it was just like kind of like a comfort. Like, I knew she was coming over and like she was my partner, and I kind of knew her. So then I like had her, and then I had Hannah, who was like I had been with the whole game. And then my first interaction with Luke, we were on the same page. So I think I like pretty quickly was like, okay, like this is my new tribe and I'm just gonna have to, fit in and start getting people out who I don't want, or else I'm gonna be out. Because I think that was again like me and Hannah, it was like 2 versus 6 or 2 versus 5 or something. So could have been an easy, like just pick them off the green tribe. And obviously Hannah wouldn't be first with Josh like leading things. So it was pretty quickly like I had to like get in with the group because I could have easily been like the first one off out of that group.
Yeah, so you did vote with Hannah and Josh on the first vote. It was a tie, and then you end up flipping your vote over to Josh, and we cut out that whole big tribal get up canoodle, section during tribal. I don't know if you remember that happening, but we cut that out because it was kind of like you go over to them and you're like, I'm flipping. So there really was no tension to it. So I cut some of those down. But yeah, what was your decision to ultimately flip on Josh?
Yeah, I think it like goes back to like the Hannah number one thing. And I think like going into that tribal, it was still like trying to stay on like Hannah's good side and like maybe this will be fine. And then when it was flipped, I think I was just when it was tied and like we heard the rules and like it's the same as Survivor, like vote again or else it's rocks. And I was just like, I'm not going to rocks. And so I will easily flip my vote. Like I, no offense, like didn't care that much at that point about like them going home at that point. So I was like, I'm not going to rocks over this. And especially I do think not only is it going to keep me from going to rocks, but also I think this is a good move for my game because Hannah's one of my number ones right now and Josh is hers. So I don't really know why I didn't want to do that in the first place. I think I was probably just like a little scared of going against Hannah and like trying to make a big move at that point so early in this new tribe. But as soon as I saw it was tied, I was like, yeah, I'll be the one to flip. Which I think was like a big move actually, like especially seeing the game that Josh was playing at this point, like that was a big person to get out.
I think it was a massive move for everybody that was a part of it. Like, I mean, Zoe, Magingo, and Samantha, like definitely working to recognize that. Luke obviously going up against like probably his rival at that point or one of his rivals.
Yeah, they were beefing a little.
Yeah, and then you making that move to recognize that. I feel like you guys definitely, that was a game-changing power like dynamic tribal council, and we had a lot of those happen during that pre-merge that end up transpiring. So after that tribal council, talk to us about your relationship with Hannah, like how you maybe attempted to rebuild that, like or was she very cool? Hannah seemed very cool with it. She even tried to go up to Luke and try to work with him. Like, how did you guys recover after that?
I think similarly, like pretty good. Like I think she really understood, like they were such a like strong pair, both of them together. They were both which we didn't even know at the time, but like both on their individual tribes were being like such leaders at that point. And so I think she totally like really understood the fact that like them together is a really dangerous threat. And I think she was probably happy that it wasn't her. So that was good. I mean, she came up to Luke obviously and was like, Josh didn't want to work with you, so I couldn't, but now I want to work with you. And I think her and I, like, I mean, maybe there was like a little bad blood for like a second, but I really feel like we picked up like right where we were. I mean, she knew that it was probably going to happen at some point in the game. And I think that she recognized that it was like a fair time to do it. And now she could kind of move on with the rest of her own game. And it really was like a weight off of her kind of. I mean, I know she mentioned that and like Zoe mentioned that when Adrian went out, like having your partner, let alone like your significant other out of the game is definitely a weight off your chest. It's just such a big like target on your back. So it's kind of like, you know, pros and cons because you have your closest ally in the game, but also everyone knows that like you two are absolutely diehard for each other. So I think she probably also was like, well, now I don't have to really worry about that anymore. So I feel like we were like back to normal pretty quick.
I mean, I think back to normal, but also like stronger. That is definitely at least where I started to see your relationship start to become like more of a pair, you know, whether it was evidence to other players in the game, but it seemed like you guys were very lockstep of like who we're going to vote out next on the tribe. Like you had some more downtime because you started winning. You were having some more strategic conversations. So yeah, I feel like that was really when you started connecting a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other tribe, we're seeing Tyler supposedly throw that challenge so that they could vote out Josie and then they get rid of Adrian. Let's talk about that challenge for a second, the blindfolded challenge. He says that he threw it. Yeah, he says that he threw it. And I am editing that footage and I'm like, I remember you guys won and I was so happy for you, for Hannah specifically, because you guys had not won yet. And I was like, okay, thank gosh, you know, they get the win and they get to breathe easy a little bit. So I was really happy for that. And then Tyler's like, yes, I threw the challenge. And I was like, Aubrey killed that challenge. She was telling them degrees to turn, telling them how many steps to go out, and they were getting those things, like moving them. Like you were on point with that. I don't even think if Tyler did not want to throw that challenge that they stood a chance. Like I want to give you your flowers on that one.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was a little brutal to watch back. Well, I think a few like conversations in the future, someone's like, that challenge that they threw. And I was like, what? But like, I feel like it didn't even like process in my brain too much was going on. And then like watching it back and like really like he did throw it kind of and like telling Allie to like knock the cup over. And I just was like so excited that we finally won and like I was the leader and it was a little brutal to watch back, but
it was a brutal challenge. I mean, that one was tough. That one, a lot of these challenges this season were planned to go maybe like 10, 15 minutes, and they would just like go on and on and on. Like we just couldn't, you know, they were just hard, and we just didn't expect them to. And like we don't have the resources on the crew to like fully test them out. We just, you know, it kind of works, you know, and we'll just throw blindfolds on them, like, and that's kind of it. So
yeah, that was a hard one. It was fun to be the leader. It's okay if you threw it. I still think we did good. It was fun. I liked that one. I think
you killed it. So we did want to give you your flowers on that one. So flipping back to, you know, you winning, being able to finally sit still and you know, take in the game a little bit. And you see Josie go home, you see Adrian go home. Out of those two votes, like what impacted you the most? Are you thinking about what's going on that other tribe at this point?
A little bit. I think like the Josie going home was like not the most shocking just because like if so many of those people were going to flip on her like the night before and like the crazy tribal, then I feel like it was going to happen at some point. That one wasn't like the most surprising, but I do still think it was telling because again, it was another scenario where it was like original vengeance way outnumbering original vendetta. So it was like another little hope that, you know, it's not as simple as green and yellow at that point. So I think that one was a little interesting. And then Adrian, like, I think it kind of made sense to us because it was like more of the simple, like green and yellow. I didn't feel like he going over there would have had like the strongest connections, but I didn't really like at the time think it was like so much like Allie like a big part of it and like kind of flipping on green and stuff. So I didn't know like as much that was going on. I feel like in the moment it felt more like, yeah, that makes sense, but like there was more to that vote than I thought, clearly, because it was like a crazy last second decision.
One of my favorite reactions to you or from you is when you guys swap again and now you're on Tyler's Vengeance Tribe. We'll call it that because he stayed there the whole time, but he's basically sitting there. It's Tyler, Eli, like you guys are all sitting on the porch and he's filling you and Hannah in and Samantha, I think, about like what happened. And like he's basically like, yeah, like we flipped on Adrian in like 30 seconds and we sent him home with like an idol. And you're like, okay, like cool. Like it was hearing that and flipping to that tribe. I guess tell us a little bit about that thought process. Like you flip there with your number one, but this is also when we start hearing you say like, you know, like Hannah's got to go at some point. She's my number one, but she's got to go at some point. Like tell us about that. Like what coming into Postma territory, where Hannah is connected to like these Grand Rapids relationships. How are you viewing these relationships and your placement on that swap tribe?
Yeah, I think that again, like you said, like I was with Hannah, like a little bit of comfort. I had no idea she was like as close with like the Grand Rapids / specifically like Tyler. Like I watching that back, they were way closer than I thought at the time. But I mean, they like looped me in more than I thought they were going to. Like I remember having a conversation with Tyler and Hannah, and like they were like, yeah, like you're with us now. And so, you know, it's always like partially a lie and stuff, but I didn't feel like horrible over there. Like it was a new area, a new tribe, something new was going on. So that was exciting. It was my first time like playing with Tyler, who, even though I wasn't with him at all up to that point, I knew he was like a big move guy, and like I knew that things were happening around him. So if anything, it was going to be like exciting. I don't think I felt like the most confident or like the least confident. It was just like, this is it now. I mean, we were used to that at that point, being the underdogs. Like we were outnumbered always. It didn't really like change that. So it was just another tribe.
Yeah. I mean, you guys end up winning. The other tribe sends Brooklyn home. But this is Zoe coined the phrase Tornado Tyler yesterday on our podcast. So this is when he really starts picking up steam, walks in on you guys, actively having a conversation about how you guys want to work with Tyler, and then interrogates everybody one by one about what you guys were talking about. Watching that back, like, what were your thoughts seeing that happen? And you know, what were your thoughts seeing that happen around you in the moment?
So funny. Like it was like exactly what you said. I mean, literally like nothing bad going on at all. Like we want to work with Tyler, and then exactly like interrogations and just so much like paranoia. And it was just, I feel like it kind of makes sense because it had been like a little bit like bottled up. Like they'd been to tribal council, I think maybe a couple times at this point, but I think you start getting down to like these tribes that have less and less people, and he was just like really paranoid. And I remember him just like bouncing all over the place. The footage is hilarious of like, I think Hannah's like, you need to chill. Like you're fine. Like you're being so paranoid right now. You need to relax. So, I mean, I can get it. Like it's paranoid out there, but, I don't think that like changed that much for him. I mean, I don't think like him being paranoid like made a bigger target on his back or anything. Like he was already such a big player. Like him doing the paranoid thing like didn't really matter that much. It kind of like made sense for him.
Okay. And going back a little bit about you going over there with Hannah and you starting that conversation, at least in your confessionals, of like, I need to eventually make that move against Hannah. That is one of those storylines that we end up seeing pay off episodes down the line. But like, why? Like, we know why. Like, Hannah is a big threat in that game, and you guys are playing a very similar game. You're very articulate on describing why you need to do that. What was behind that, I guess? Could you also re-articulate that of like why you thought like Hannah needed to go then and why you started planning that so early?
Yeah, I think I will say that like I wasn't planning in the sense of like acting yet. Like I was never, I don't think I like started making that public knowledge for like quite a few more tribals, but in my confessionals it was more so like a note to myself, I feel like, of like a
Yeah.
reminder, because I was just so attached to her. Like I had been with her in every tribe, like we had gone to the exact same amount of tribal councils, we had survived the exact same amount of tribals. Like she was obviously like my closest ally at the time. I was like one of her closer allies at the time. She was starting to get aligned with like this vengeance tribe. She was so connected. And like I think that tribe swap is like where I first really saw like how connected she was, because she immediately on this brand new tribe could still keep up like this leader role, like bringing people in for votes, like talking to Tyler, like they're number ones now. So I think that was like one of the first times where I was like, oh, like she is not just like a poor vendetta girl who's like been losing this whole time. Like she's been losing and now she has all these allies and now she like is connected to everyone. She's been on both tribes and I'm connected to her, but like she's playing here and like I'm playing here. So I definitely was like starting to recognize it, but it definitely didn't need to like be acted on yet. And I think that like it ended up, you know, working out with the way that we like played it out, I think. But it was more so like in those confessionals, like notes to myself of like, this is like good for you now, but like just be careful with this because she's gonna beat you. Like you are playing the exact same game as her right now. So that was a little bit of why.
I love it. I mean, that is helps me out tremendously from the storytelling perspective, but it's something like I told you guys early on, like use your confessionals almost like therapy to like just let your brain talk and like discuss those things and put pins in things. And some of our best players utilize that. Like Juliana, winner of Fresh Meat, was really good at doing that. Sydney was good at doing that. You were great at doing that. Like I think also something that Zoe brought up yesterday on our podcast that she took away from her experience on Fresh Meat was coming into Bad Blood and not just focusing on your story in the game, not just focusing on like, the game that you're playing, but also being aware of all the games of everybody else. And I think you did that so seamlessly on your first try. And we really get to see that because you see Hannah like basically have the same story as you, if not, coming in with a bigger threat level than you. So you were really good at that. And we see you take a really big swing that next round, like once Hannah goes out at Tyler. And I think that is also really when the audience and, the game gets to see the level of game player that you are. Like you're not afraid to go up against Tyler and you target him. So talk us through, I guess, going against Tyler that round. And even though you missed, like that still was such a big statement, I feel like, for your game. Like you weren't afraid to do something. So yeah, tell us about your approach to that. Did you want to go into that tribal making that move?
Yeah, that was huge. Like that was one of the biggest things when we got over there. Like people had just been talking about this, like Tyler, and this was my first time that I was going to be on the same tribe as him. And suddenly, like a couple people went home and then someone's on exile and suddenly like our tribe's down to 5, I think it was. And it was like, this is the time to like make a big move. And yes, it was early in the game. But the tribe was tiny at that point. Like we had, only so many people that if you can convince 1 or 2 people, like that can be a big switch in the votes. And so I remember like planning that out with Samantha. And like, I remember counting on our fingers, like if this happens and this happens and this person and this person. And I think we still knew, or we thought that he had to steal a vote or an extra vote or something, which he didn't, but because he gave that to Allie, I think. And so I remember like we kind of knew about that advantage and we were thinking if that would have been played, how would that all play out? And I mean, it was a great swing. If Eli would have came through, but I think that it was a moment in my game where I was like, okay, like I'm gonna like go after the big players. Like I came onto that tribe as like, again, like the underdog. Like I had been to tribal so many times and like it was just like I'm just like gonna go for something big right now. I think we could have the numbers for it. I think we thought through it a lot. I don't think it was like a careless decision.
Yeah.
We almost did it. So that was a fun try.
Yeah, it was a very fun try. It was a very valid try. I mean, Eli, you had his vote up until that, the very end, as he puts it. We have yet to interview him, so we have to confirm that. But yeah, Eli, it seemed like you guys, understood the stakes of that vote, at least in the conversation that you had. What was your relationship like with Eli? That seemed like the first time that you were really starting to play with him, but yeah, what was your relationship like with Eli, and how did that, that move maybe affect that relationship moving forward in the game?
Yeah, that was the first time like I had like thought about playing. I think that was the first time we were on the same tribe. That was like our first possible move together, and it was like all of a sudden a really big move. I think that I like when he didn't vote for him, and like I think we talked right after. Like it was one of my first conversations after because he wanted to explain himself. I wanted to be like, what the heck? So we talked about it, and I just remember like I'm pretty sure his reasoning was like really valid. Like it was like Tyler's like a huge shield for us at this point, and like we're about to be entering like a merge, and he was like kind of saying that to me truthfully, kind of not, because Tyler was one of his really good allies, but at the same time like Eli totally knew that Tyler needed to go at some point, as like we see soon enough. But like we were like really on the same page, even though like we didn't quite get his vote. Like I still felt like that connection over like we need Tyler out was like forming pretty well at that point, even though like the first try didn't work. So I felt pretty like connected to Eli at that point, even though like that one didn't work.
Yeah, and so you come back to camp and you talk with Eli, you talk with Tyler, you're very upfront. I feel like once Samantha told you like Tyler threw out your name, like that was kind of a mental note of like I can use that like as my reasoning. Like, but you're very upfront and you're like, well, I heard you say my name. Like seemed like things were ironed out. Like Tyler chalked it up to miscommunication, but like we see that really not happen once the merge happened. What was that like talking with Tyler? Did you think your ass was grass, so to speak? Like if there was no merge in sight?
Yeah, I really thought that like, okay, I think when I told him that like he said my name, like I knew that was like not a good excuse, because I knew that when he said my name, it was because I was the only option. Like when he had said my name to Samantha, I think I was talking to Eli or something. So like I was the only option. So when I said that, like I knew that like wasn't a good excuse and stuff. But like it seems like even watching back the footage, like Tyler, when I'm not there, talks to Eli and is like, yeah, like you said, like says it was like a miscommunication and stuff. So even when I wasn't there, it seemed like he was kind of like okay with it. Again, like we were at such like a small number, like there were only 4 of us that you could vote for that time, I think. And so I think it was like I thought we were like kind of good. I mean, of course, like when someone writes your name down, like you're never going to be fully good again. But yeah. I did think we were like kind of on the up from that. And it kind of seemed like that, like in his like confessionals and stuff afterwards, like he didn't really like do a confessional right after that was like, no, like she's toast, like she voted for me, she's gone. Like it really did seem like he was like fine with it for a little bit. And then I don't think changed.
Yeah. Well, so you guys end up merging. Things really do change. And Tyler reconnects with Allie, he reconnects with Sam, his other alliance with Eli, and like they have their little powwow session. Yeah. And you beeline it for Luke. And like once everybody's done with their hot dogs, like you and Luke have that conversation. And it is one of my favorite scenes of, the season, is where like you guys have that conversation. You're basically like tried to go for Tyler, and Luke's like, I think that's like when Luke perks up and he's like, okay, like somebody, like I'm not on the bottom, because Luke just got done flipping on Magingo and Zoe to with Hannah. And so he knows that he needs to make that adjustment, and you come forward with that information. Then you get Hannah and John in on that conversation, and you're all discussing, this coup is arising. And we see Tyler later on in that merge episode of, who's most likely to start a coup. I think it's Aubrey. And like, I mean, it already happened, Tyler. So you start that conversation with Luke and gradually start to pull people in. Talk us through that. Like, did you start like going to work right away? Like, how did you intend to play that round? And, were those the allies that you were hoping to like gather?
Honestly, yeah. Like, I think going into the merge, it was like the people that I like immediately went to and talked to were the people that like I wanted to be with at that point. And like even like pretty far into the game, which ended up happening. Exactly to your point, like when I like said that to Luke, I think he was like validated that like someone else is like thinking the same thing and like it's time to like act on it. And then it was like once one person said it, like everyone was like, yeah, like that does need to happen. Like all of a sudden, like John was like totally like thinking the same thing, and like Hannah was in like kind of, and like it was just all of a sudden like I think like someone had to say it, and like Luke and I were like kind of those people to really start pushing that. And so it was definitely like going into it, those were the people who like I thought that like I could get on my side and like could be moving forward in the game with. I didn't really have hope for like me and Tyler. Like I thought like, things were all good and it was just a miscommunication, but it's hard to like ally with someone after they write your name down. And, when he had such strong alliances, like I knew he did with his sister and with Sam and everything. So I think it was just like, yeah, it was the start of the coup for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, Zoe ends up winning immunity, and John lays it on you guys. And that another one of my favorite scenes from the season is laying it on you guys that he has that safety chain advantage, something that at least CBS Survivor hasn't explored yet, or I don't know if any other backyard survivors have done it. But what were your thoughts as John relayed that message of his safety chain advantage that he had?
Like I could not believe it. Like I remember like saying, and I just watched it again, like I like understand the game and stuff, but I look like I like don't. Like I was like all five of us are safe and like we all still get to vote. Like I was like, I don't think I'm hearing this right. Like this is way too powerful. Like there's no way that like I'm getting this at a point in my game where like I could be on the chopping block. Like there's no way this is working out so good. And it was just like, yes, all five of us still vote. Yes, all five of us are safe. Yes, John wants to use it with me. Like it was just like what? Like it was crazy. And like watching it back, like I was like getting chills. Like I was like, this was like such a good move at that tribal, and like I'm sure that's what we're about to get into.
It was such an awesome move, and yeah, it's again you confirm that information. You're like, no way, and then you just like lock it back in. You're like, we have to go for Tyler. And talk about that. You were very upfront about it. You were not shying away. Like Tyler's feeding you some BS. Like, yeah, I heard your name too. And you're like, yeah, you threw it out. Like you were very upfront and direct that round. Like what was going through your mind that round?
Yeah, I don't really know. I did watch that back and I was like, oh my gosh. I think that like, again, it was just like the opportunity, and like I had just tried to do it literally the tribal before, and like we were so close, and like Eli afterwards like came up to me and talked about it and was like, it does need to happen at some point. And so I think like that's just in the back of my mind, and I'm like, that point's now, like now that five of us are safe, like there's not going to be another point like this in the game, like to get out such a big threat. And like as soon as you like start thinking about it and like do just a little bit of math and are like, we like have the numbers, like we can do this right now. And I think that's when I was like, okay, like time to lock in, like we need to do this right now. So yeah, I wasn't like afraid to say it. And like, yeah, to your point, I remember saying that to Tyler and being like, yeah, you threw it out, didn't you? I think, it was just a little bad blood, but all good. We were just clearly gunning for each other, but I think that's, game respects game.
Yeah. So during that tribal, like the intention behind the safety chain, like there's a lot of things going in when planning it. So we discussed this on our Merge podcast, like of all the intricacies that we discussed over production. And the last thing that we really wanted was an alliance for like Tyler to, just basically save each other and keep voting out the minority. We wanted this advantage to actually be something that the players had to earn, which John, clearly did, having to run.
And crazy, like crazy watching that back. Actually, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so he earns it, and then he comes back. And so there was multiple things to the advantage of like you can like a minority can use it to topple somebody, and then also somebody in the majority could also switch something up. And so we see that, you know, that tension. Like that question is like, is Hannah going to actually pick Aubrey? Like, what is your thought process? You were kind of nervous there about Hannah picking you. Like, what is your, you know, thinking about that in the game? Like, what was it like seeing Hannah do that?
Yeah, I mean, you edited it like perfect. Like the tense music is like exactly how I felt. Like it was like we talked about this a lot, and like I've been with Hannah the whole game, but like she was just like, you know, she wasn't like the most excited to make this move and like get out one of her allies. And so like the editing of it is exactly how I felt. Like the tense music and like the pause and like the look at her like, oh, we're good, right? And then like she says my name like so quietly, and I'm like, okay, like that was an Aubrey. I heard it in there.
Yeah, you were like, she said Aubrey. I had to add like a little pause because Hannah goes like Aubrey, and you're like Eli. Like,
I'm like, I'm good. Like, let's move on. Like
before she changes her mind. But yeah, it was epic because that was Hannah saying you choosing to go against her Grand Rapids friends, like people that she has actively played with throughout the game, picking you, somebody that she just met that day. You know, that changed her game. That I think was a big play for her, but that also attributes like both of your guys' connection in the game. So did that move validate that connection for you? Like, did you think like, yes, Hannah and I are really locked in?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I will say like I didn't I didn't think that she wasn't going to choose me, but like exactly as the editing showed, like it was like, you know, you never know, like this could be a crazy like change of things if she does it. So I didn't think she wasn't not going to, but like absolutely her doing that was like 100% like this advantage in the game just like made such an easy alliance form that like kind of came out of nowhere. Like we were all kind of working with each other. Like, yes, I was really working with Hannah. Yes, I was starting to really work with Luke. Yes, I was kind of working with John. Like they were all like kind of happening separately. And then like this chain did exactly like what it was meant to do and immediately formed like this group that then like worked together for like a decent amount of time moving forward. So definitely like made me feel closer with her, but I would say more so made me feel closer with like the other people that were in that chain. Like I was like, okay, like I'm locked in with like John and Luke and like Eli. Like it was definitely like validating to have a group finally. Like I felt like I was in like a strong group.
Yeah. So what was your relationship with John? Like you start off the game with him, goes to the other tribe, you touch base with him here and there. Like, I mean, even with your time with him on the same tribe, he is at exile, like doing his little shenanigans. So like what was your relationship with John up to that point? And like, did you see him as a long-term ally?
I would say that no, like I would say up to that point, like our relationship was like he was like the awesome guy in my tribe that like I just never really got the chance to work with. Like he was on exile and then he switched tribes and like we voted him to switch tribes. So like, is he mad about that? Like, you know, there wasn't like that many opportunities to us to actually work game together until like that point. And I like even watching it back, like when he comes up to the group of us, of the 3 or 4 of us, in that canoodling session, it is like, I have something. Like watching that back, like I'm kind of shocked I was like included in that. Like I just am surprised that like at that point, like he wanted to loop me in on that. I think it was partly just because like I was working with the people that he wanted to loop in, and so like it made sense for me to be a part of it. But I don't necessarily think like we were that close at that point for me to necessarily get like that extra spot. And like would things have been different if like Zoe didn't have immunity? Definitely, maybe. Because I mean John and I, like we were on same tribes together, but we just hadn't worked much game together until that point. So that definitely like kickstarted that that alliance and like which moved forward for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it really was a perfect storm. Like it was like you were covered. Zoe was covered. Like the only targets were Tyler and his alliance, and then poor Carrie on the side. Like,
Very, yeah.
so moving into day three, really want to talk to you about that relationship with you and Allie, because we see that come up later in Final Tribal. And I honestly didn't really realize like how big of a grudge that Allie might have held towards you. I don't know if grudge is a word, but just some like ill will, bad blood, so to speak. But like, yeah, what was that relationship like with Allie throughout the game?
Yeah, I will say I didn't really know either. Like, when she in her question is like, I know we didn't really like each other this game. I was like, oh, we didn't. So I mean, I think it like goes back to that those few tribals in a row were like really me cementing that I was like against that alliance. Like I made it, I was not hiding that. Like I was trying to get out Tyler, Sam, and Allie. And so I think that I became kind of like the easy like enemy. Like I wasn't like afraid to say that like those were who like I wanted out. And so I don't think it was like I don't think it was anything like deeper than that. I mean, I think that I went really hard against her brother. I think I got included in the safety chain. I think like all of those things piling up just kind of like formed a little storm between the two of us, but she played a great game.
I know it's something that like we wish that we could go back and like dive into on a podcast. Like I would like I had not seen the Final Tribal footage until until like I started editing it. Like I had not, I completely forgot about Allie's question. And so like I wish we might have addressed that a little bit more and dove into your guys' relationship on her podcast. But yeah, it really shocked me because like I felt, you know, out of everybody, like you were the one that they were actively targeting. So it's not like, you know, like out of like she gives her idol to Eli, who flipped on her probably harder than anybody else in the alliance, and John, who, you know, orchestrated the whole thing, but you're the one that's catching the heat from this. So it was kind of interesting to see, you know, how that bad blood really settled and yeah, how that festered, I guess, on the jury. It was
I feel like that's a really good point. Like Eli definitely like I never really like I was never working with them really versus like an Eli or a John or something. So I got a little bit of the fury, but it's okay.
So what were you like? What was your game plan on day three? We talked to Zoe yesterday. Zoe said that she was drafting up her final three speech in her sleeping bag going into day three. Like, where was your head at? Were you still planning on taking it round by round, or like did you you know have that moment of like I could run away with this?
Yeah, I will say like the latter. Like I felt good going into day three. Like we ended day two with like that crazy move, the safety chain. Like I was fully in the majority. I was in this new group. Like I felt good about the group. I felt confident in my play. And I went into day three like, yeah, like locked and loaded. Like I was ready to go. I think when I was like watching it back, like I think I was one of the first people to like bring up final three. And I remember being like, I want to take Luke to the final three. And so I think that I was like thinking about these things like a little bit like earlier in the game. And I think that's because I felt like I was in a good spot. Like I really liked the alliances I was making. I felt like I was like immersing myself amongst strong players, which I think it was good for my game because we were able to work well together. But I also know who like needs to go home before me. Like there were still really big threats in the game that like I was ready to get out when needed to be. So I woke up feeling good. I don't know if I was crafting my speech in my sleep, but I was feeling good. I was thinking about like who's going to be sitting next to me. Like I was starting to think about who's on the jury, like who's playing similar. I think one of the biggest things I was thinking about was like who's playing a similar game to me. Like not necessarily like who can I beat, but like who has the exact same story as me. Like that's a bad thing for me.
That was something that, you know, Sydney, it was literally deja vu again with editing Sydney and editing you, where Sydney was very against Juliana because we have similar stories. And you kept saying that too, like, I can't be with Hannah. We have very similar stories. So was that something you took from her? Is that, you know, something that you truthfully think is like what you needed at the end in order to win, was different stories next to you?
Yeah, I didn't even like really realize that like that was her big thing either until you just said that. Like now that you say it, I'm like, yeah. But no, that was like, I mean, I fully believed that. Like I think that I pretty like not early, but like early post merge was starting to think about like who have I been with this entire game, and like who have I maybe been like riding their coattails a little, and like that for me, as we've talked about a lot, was like definitely Hannah. And so for me, this story was a really big thing because like it's hard for me to know everything that's going on the other tribe, right? Like I didn't know everything that Luke was doing, but like I knew that we were playing different games, and so I was like, okay, like maybe he'll beat me, but like we're playing different games at least. Versus Hannah, like I know every move she's made, I've been a part of every move she's made, and like we're so tied together. So to me, like the story was a really big deal, and was a big part of like why I was like thinking who I want to be sitting next to in the final three.
I think that's really interesting. That viewpoint of it, and it's something that we don't really talk about or haven't really had the chance to talk about on the podcast, because you watch like Real Survivor and like you have people making these final threes, early on in the game.
Yeah.
They're going to the end, they're ride or dies, that type of stuff. And we have Grand Rapids Survivor, where you are, playing a 3-day game and you don't really want to have the, like the moves being established, because you don't really know how everybody's going to play just yet. And so you lock in and have, the game play itself out. So I felt like you started processing it at a really good time. Think you might be frozen though, Aubrey. So let me technical difficulty this and try to reprogram it. So hang tight, everybody. Are we back?
I'm back. I'm so
All
sorry.
right, awesome. I don't know how much you caught of my rant there, but
I
basically
don't think
I was
much.
just not much. Basically, I was just saying, like in Real Survivor, like we have like the 39-day game or whatever the new era is now, 26, I think. But like you see like these final twos and threes getting made early on in the game, and we're playing a 3-day speed run version of Survivor. So I feel like it's really hard to make those alliances, because if you lock in with somebody and they are not the player that that you're expecting them to be, like we see people like Josh, for example, locking in with Tyler, and Tyler is meanwhile gathering 5 other people to be in this alliance together. I think you maybe found that perfect balance of like, okay, like I need to start solidifying at this point at least one person to take to the end. And we see Zoe start to do that with Carrie around final 7. Like Hannah even tries to do that with you in locking in a final 2 around like final 7. So I mean, we'll talk about that in a sec, but yeah, I think you definitely start playing those numbers right when you needed to. I guess, yeah. Did you think anybody else? But like, I guess let me rephrase this question. It is an interesting game. We saw alliances really take center stage with Tyler and his posse, but when we're at the merge, we're kind of in this big safety chain group. But it still feels like everybody is playing an individual game. It feels like a very solid voting block for at least a couple rounds. Like, what were you thinking during the Sam vote and during the Allie vote of who you can break off from and eventually flip on this big group?
Yeah, I think like in those first few votes post safety chain, like they were the votes that made sense for like everyone. And so I agree with what you're saying about like it was a little, can you hear me okay? Also.
Yeah, you're good.
I do think that like that was a little bit more of like a voting block at that point. Like we had the numbers and like they were kind of the ones who like at that point were like on the outs. And so like sure, like if we want to make like final 8, final 7, like let's just like get rid of those. But I think that as you're going through that every round, like exactly like you're saying, I mean, you're getting closer and closer to like it's time to start like breaking this group up. And I don't think in my mind it was ever like we need to like break up this group, like I'm at the bottom of this group or anything. It was never like that. It was more so like who in this group do I want to work with and like keep moving forward with. And I think that like that started to come into play like even in those like big like votes at the beginning where like it seems a little bit more unanimous, but like there's still like so many conversations going on and like you get vibes and stuff. And like I think that's where I was starting to think like I was getting a little closer with Luke. Like Hannah was like we were still really close, but I was like it's getting time, like we gotta cut this off at some point. So I think that even in those like votes that are more unanimous, like bonds are like continuing for sure. And like to your point, like in the CBS Survivor, like you have so long to get to know these people and like see how they're playing and stuff. In this, it's like you have like I mean I just met these people, like some of them this is my third tribal voting with them or something. So you definitely have to like get once you like start getting a good vibe from someone, like I ran with it, I feel like, because you don't really have time to be thinking of all the different options and everything. So I feel like that's kind of like how I went about that.
Yeah. So you like we'll talk about it where Hannah approaches you and says, I think we want to be in the final 2. And you play the, yeah, okay, cool. Like, and that's a plot point because that starts to get Hannah's, attention. Like Hannah really started to second guess you guys' connection. So talk us about that. Like what was your thought process with denying that or accepting that final 2, but ultimately definitely denying it?
Yeah, I did not realize like how not like dismissive, but like to me I like totally thought like I was like yes, like let's do it. Like I like watching it back, I really am like yeah, okay. I think part of it is like Zoe's like walking up in the background a little bit. So I think maybe I'll give myself like the benefit that like I think people might have been coming or something, but I really did like kind of like not be very enthusiastic about that. And I think that wasn't on purpose, but I think that part of it was like in my mind I just like knew that like I couldn't be next to her in the end. Like she would have beat me. I mean, Luke beat me, but
yeah.
I like, really thought she would have beat me. And so I probably just like my reaction was just like not as enthusiastic as she wanted it to be. It's so funny watching it back because like she just immediately like recognizes it and she's like, that was horrible vibes. Like she's so not going with me to the end. And like I didn't even like mean to react like that. Like at that point I still feel like I didn't want to like be in the final 2 with her, but like I wasn't ready to like be making the move necessarily yet. But that small little, it shows like a small reaction can make like a big difference because I do think that like propelled her like, oh, like maybe we aren't like the final 2 together. Like just my reaction alone definitely like impacted that, I think.
Yeah. Do you think if she like came up to you earlier, like you would have like how would you have navigated that conversation? Like if she came up to you, maybe on day 2 or something, like what would you have changed maybe?
Honestly, I think there could have been like a better shot at me being like more into it because like day 2 or like end of day 1 or something, like we were still so down in numbers that like the fact that anyone would want like something to do with me and like thinking about the end at that point, like I think that would have like enthused me a lot more. But at this point, like I think I felt like I was in a good play, like a good spot in the game. Yeah. And so I felt like I had a little more like say to be like, nah, like you're not my first choice, even though she's literally the best and was like the best ally ever, but she would have destroyed me.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think Aubrey, like, I mean, we'll talk about your final tribal and that final, pitch and how the jury ended up playing, but like you played a phenomenal game, like ran a lot of votes. We talked to Zoe yesterday and Zoe said like, you and her really had like you weren't really aligned, but you had like this business transaction relationship where you would, you know, talk to each other and be like, all right, like same page, this is what we're gonna do. And then both of you would like go out and start not necessarily sowing the seeds. Like, I mean, people were more than willing to be on that boat with you guys, but the plan would definitely start to originate from the two of you of like, this is what I'm thinking, this is what you're thinking. Okay, is that similar to how you know, maybe how you perceive that relationship with Zoe?
Yeah, I do think so. Like, I think that we also, it kind of goes into like the decision at the end with like who's going to the final three. Like, kind of back to the whole like story thing. Like, I saw her as like a similar threat in the sense of like a like vote leader, like a loud voice in discussions and stuff. And I do think that like we were driving a lot of votes in like that span of like 9 to 5 or whatever. So I definitely agree with her on that. Like, I think that we would work together, and like we were never each other's like number one, and like we never really like pretended to be.
Yeah.
Like in the end, we both knew that like we were both voting for each other at Final Four, like all of that. We never like were each other's number one, but I think we like worked together well to like kind of like manage votes and like lead the voice on like the next tribal and stuff like that. So I agree for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's never addressed. I don't think it's something that you can really address in the game because I don't think you can really recognize it until watching everything back or me, you know, editing all the footage. But, you know, Zoe ends up being the alternate vote for, you know, John on up to like Zoe is voted for every time from John to Hannah to Eli to you. Zoe's the option, the other option. So it always kind of seemed like you two would connect. Zoe would then, you know, take the heat, and then you would, you know, maybe direct the vote to somebody else. And whether that was intentional or not, but that's just kind of like how it, you know, ultimately played out was that dynamic. And it was really such an interesting relationship because, yeah, you're right. Like there's never an upfront conversation of like, yes, we're working together. It was more like game recognizes game. We're going to play it, like that type of situation.
Yeah, I feel like I never put together that like like those last like 4 or whatever votes, like she was the other option, and like everyone was gunning for her because like she was such a threat, and I guess I kept taking her side and helping lead the charge with that.
Yeah, and that comes to like the start when you guys start to target John, and it is really, you know, John versus Zoe. John dubbed it the queen off of the two of them going at it, and it is quite the you know, lesser of two evils right there. Like both are power players in that game, and it just so happened that, you know, you denied Hannah's final 2, but you were also technically in a final 3 with Luke and John. So what how it was very interesting how you tried to manage that, you know, relationship and salvage that relationship with Luke while, you know, snipping it with John. So talk us through, you know, how you wanted to approach that.
Yeah. So like I said to Luke, earlier in either that episode or the tribal before or something, I went up to Luke and I was like, John beats either of us. And he was like, you think? And I was like, I think, yeah, like I really do. John was just like so charismatic, and he was like playing a good game. And Luke was pointing out his big move of the safety chain and stuff, but I just had a bad feeling. Like I was like, everyone loves him. Like he's gonna steal all the votes. And so obviously I felt good about Luke, and I thought it was time for John to go home. And yeah, we had this like thing going, and I didn't tell Luke that I was going to be voting for John. And I didn't know until watching it that Zoe, like kind of last second, told Luke that like we were going for John. And so I think that like probably rubs Luke the wrong way a little bit, but like we talked afterwards, and in his like confessionals and stuff, he references my comment before of like, she did say that like he could beat us, and like maybe I do kind of agree. Like, so I feel like we moved on from it pretty fast because I think that he was feeling good that he didn't have to vote John out and didn't have to like necessarily know that was happening. But I think after it happened, he was like, yeah, I think maybe like that was good. So I think we moved on from it pretty good. But yeah, that was funny watching back. Like
It was funny. It was definitely, so I tried to leave in, I have to cut out some of the blank, tension, or, like the spaces of air of conversations and stuff. But sometimes I like to leave it in just to show like the tension or the awkwardness of things. And like when it's just you and Luke standing there and you're like, so I think John beats us. Like it's such a, but it's like such a real reaction because it's a hard conversation to have. Like Luke's your
yeah,
number one. John is supposedly his number one, or number two. I think
yeah.
you were Luke's definite number one at that point. But it's like, hey, like we need to make a move at this point. So I
Yeah,
think
and like John had like just like we had just talked about Final Three. John walks away. I'm like, ah.
yeah. So were you nervous at all about losing Luke in that process?
Um, Maybe a little bit, but I felt pretty locked that like we were each other's number ones, and I
Mhm.
felt like I could convince that it was the right idea. And I also think that like I think that even though it like doesn't really make sense, I think that he like would have appreciated slash did appreciate that like he almost like wasn't included. Like I remember him saying like I like couldn't have voted for John. Like even if like it was the right move, like even if he beats us in the end, like I could not vote for John. And so I think that almost in a way it like is kind of like, okay, like Aubrey had to do like the dirty work with getting rid of John, and like my slate is clean. Like I didn't vote out my partner. Like I never placed a vote on his name. So I feel like that was like kind of an aspect of it too, because afterwards I feel like Luke was kind of like, well, yeah, maybe like John is a threat. He knew he was a threat, but you know. So yeah, I feel like we were able to move past it. I wasn't like too worried about losing him. I felt like really confident that we were each other's number one at that point, even with John and like even with John in the mix. I felt
Yeah.
like we were each other's number one.
So yeah, after that vote, we hit our finale, like our final six on, and you do a little bit of reconciling with Luke, basically tell him that you are actually locked in with him, you're really good to go, and you set your sights on Hannah. Like Hannah is your vote that round, and you really want to target her on that. And meanwhile, Hannah is picking up a little bit on that your relationship with Luke. So I guess two questions here. One question that we can go through first is going to be, what about that round was your move for Hannah? Why final six? Why was that going to be your targeting of Hannah? And then the second round, or second question is going to be like, why, like, were you in tune with how in tune she was with you and Luke?
Yeah. So first, for why that round, I think it was just like getting down to it. Like John had just gone, which was like Luke's previous number one. I feel like that kind of like opened the door to like we can like get rid of like people that like we've been working with the whole time. Like I started Vendetta with John, and like then I was like a really big part of getting him out. And so I feel like even though like massive people had gone out of the game already, no one like that. I feel like John was probably like my closest person so far that like I had like voted out. And so it kind of was like, okay, like we did it once, like we can go for it again. And it's getting down to it. Like we're in the final six, and you never know. Like Hannah was great at challenges. Like she easily could have won one challenge, two challenge, and all of a sudden she's sitting final three. So I mean, that was like it kind of back to what we were talking about earlier, where like I was giving myself these like mental reminders of like she like you cannot sit by her in the end. And so I think that like those were just coming up, and it was like, okay, like you're at six, like if you're not going to do it now, like it's really getting down to it. So I feel like that was, maybe part of the reason why, like just time and like pressure, it was getting close to the end.
Just keep ripping the Band-Aid off.
Just keep going. Like once it's
yeah.
And then sorry, what was the second part of your question?
So yeah, like were you aware that Hannah was in
Right.
tune with you?
No, like not at all. Like watching that was so like she was so like she knew every single thing that like Luke and I were like on. Like Luke and I were each other's number one, and she clocked that so easily. And I think in the episode she says like there's three pairs. It's like me and Eli and Luke and Aubrey and Carrie and Zoe. And I was like, wow, like I didn't even really realize that there were like 3 pairs. And so she clocked it like way more than I thought she did. Her confessionals are funny where she's like, I'm just like getting sus vibes from like Luke and Aubrey, and like she probably was because we were probably talking about her like right before she walked up or something. So she really got that figured out very, very nicely.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked with Hannah about it yet, so jury's still out, so to speak, of her POV of that situation. But it was really kind of one of those situations of her clocking something, but really didn't have too many tools to do anything about it. Like Zoe, we talked about this again with Zoe yesterday. Of Zoe was the other option, so it was kind of like, does she align with Zoe? But technically she was the one. You were throwing out Zoe's name to Hannah, so it's like, what do we do there? And then Eli for some reason thought his name was thrown out, and
Yeah.
Carrie didn't want to go for Zoe. She was targeting Hannah. Like it was just kind of like, I have this information. If I take my shot and I'm wrong, like then I burn Aubrey and Luke, and if I'm right, then like I'm gone. So it was kind of a real tough spot for Hannah to be in. And the only thing that I could think that she would be able to do would be align with Zoe and then flip the vote on you. But I don't think there was enough, ammo to do that at that time. And kudos to you and Luke, because I think you two worked really nicely as a duo, whether intentional or not. Like you were putting in that work to push the Zoe narrative to Hannah, and Luke was doing the work to also push the narrative that you and him were not actually that close. So it was kind of a two-time.
The video, like the clip of Hannah's like, "Are you and Aubrey close?" And he's like, "No, not at all."
Yeah, Luke's got some funny like turn around the conversation moments.
Yeah, one line. No, yeah, it was good.
It's hard to edit Luke a little bit, because in those conversations, and Luke told us on his podcast, like he was deliberately just very vague in his conversations, to not let on how in tune to the game that he was. So big kudos to Luke. But like he would say something and then it would cut to confessional of Luke being like, yeah, like this is my read on the situation. And it would be like, okay, like what part of that is intentional? What, like, it's not lining up. I need the footage of you doing it. But again, we ironed all of it out over the podcast. So kudos to Luke on that gameplay. I think that is a very underrated move. And like, that's the thing with our backyard survivor. Some of these moves, like you don't hear described in the confessionals. You just have to watch the subtlety of it. So I think that was a great move. You end up blindsiding Hannah, and the next round is Eli. So we see Zoe pitch final 3 to Luke and Carrie. Were you aware that was going on?
Not really. I knew that, again, Zoe and I like weren't each other's number ones, but like I didn't realize it was like so set for her that like that was her 3 that she wanted. Like I didn't feel as like on the outs of that group as like maybe I should have, but then again, I think that like Luke wasn't really in that final 3. Like he was a lot more locked in with me. So I didn't know that like that final 3 was like as prominent as like it appeared to be on like the footage.
So we talked about your relationship with Zoe, talked about your relationship with Luke. What is your relationship with Eli at this point? Is he, just kind of fodder you need to get rid of Eli? He's the next biggest threat out there.
Yeah, I feel like Eli was like out of like the John, Hannah, Eli votes like all in a row. I feel like Eli was the one that I was like least like this needs to happen. Like I think if someone would have been like pushing for Zoe a little more, like at that point I didn't necessarily think that like Eli had to be the next one to go, but like that's what kind of started to get pushed. Eli and I at that point, I think we were like working well together because of this group that had just been like continuously voting together. I feel like we had been on the same side of the vote for like multiple in a row. And so I feel like we were working well together, but kind of like same as Zoe, like it was never like we're going to the end together. Like, you're my number one, I'm your number one. But at that point in the game, also, like, thinking about it a little more, he kind of didn't have, like, many, like, well, I don't think he had, like, a number one in the game at that point. And so maybe it was, like, a little bit, like, easier to just target him at that point versus, like, Zoe, who, like, was so locked in with Carrie, and, like, we knew that. And, like, I felt really locked in with Luke. Like, Eli was a little bit, like, Hannah had just gotten out. Like, in the duos that were starting to happen, his duo just got voted out. So I feel like it just like came about.
Yeah.
Also, obviously, like, a huge threat. I mean, like, it was, he was, like, insane in the challenges and, like, so social and, like, such good knowledge of the game, so strategic. So, like, it wasn't just like, oh, it just happened. Like, it happened because, like, he was a huge threat.
Yeah. So with you said, like, you saw Zoe and Carrie as a duo. It was well known then for you that they were starting to play together pretty well.
I feel like, yeah, like, this is kind of, like, back to, like, my relationship with Carrie. Like, nearing the end, like, I didn't feel, like, as close to her, just because when there's 5 people left, like, it does start to turn into a lot more of, like, duos. And at that point, like, Luke was, like, my person, and, like, it wasn't Carrie at that point. So I did feel like it was a little bit, like, obvious. But again, I didn't really know about, like, the bringing Luke in for, like, the final 3.
Yeah. So yeah, when we get to the final 4, Carrie wins, which big win for Carrie. But to the drawing board for you and Zoe essentially facing off. We talked with Zoe yesterday. We talked with Luke, about those decisions. What was like watching that back? Like, did you in the moment? It's for those watching. I feel like the episodes and seeing, like, it might be very clear that, like, okay, Zoe and Aubrey have been running a lot of votes, but also Luke has been winning these immunities. Like, do you understand? Or do you regret targeting Zoe or not going for Luke?
Like, I don't know. I mean, I would say no. Like, Luke obviously beat me, but I think it's, like, a little bit more back to, like, the different gameplay. And, like, I think that Zoe would have had a better, like, combination of things than I did. Whereas, like, to me, and, like, I kind of, like, go back on this now, but, like, in the game, like, Luke was, like, challenge beast to me, which, like, of course he was, but there was more to his game than that. And so I think, like, to me, it was, like, Luke played quite a different game than me versus Zoe was, like, challenge beast, like, Anne was leading the votes with me. So I feel like I wouldn't change things, but Luke did beat me. So I don't know. I think that, like, at that point, it was, like, it was just, like, thinking about, like, all sorts of things, like, who's on the jury and, like, what have people's strengths been in the game, like, who's made enemies, like, all of that. So I felt really confident in our decision. But who knows? Maybe.
Yeah, it's hindsight's 2020. I think Zoe, if she was there with you guys, it would have been a really hard sell not to give Zoe a good run. She had a crazy story from redemption and the moves that she's made, but also you and Carrie had a great story too. But I think that was kind of the best combination that you guys could have had for Luke. So I understand the move. The jury obviously was like, why didn't you get Luke out? Like, they had their own read of the situation. What was your read on Carrie? Like, we saw you selling Carrie pretty hard on, the final 3 of going for Zoe. Carrie ultimately makes the decision after, calculating the numbers with her rocks. Yeah. But, like, what was your read on Carrie? Like, we talked earlier in the podcast about your relationship, but yeah, tell us about your relationship with her at that point.
I think, like, at that point, I was just, like, trying to save, like, my butt, really. Like, it was like, pitch yourself, or, like, you're gonna leave. And so I think that, like, once I knew that maybe she felt good about me and it was more so, like, choosing between Luke and Zoe, I think, like, more so, I don't know if it's, like, emotion, but, like, alliance. Like, I felt, like, closer to Luke than I did Zoe. And, like, that alliance was, like, not only, like, I felt close to them, but, like, again, I felt like I played a different game than him. And so I felt like I could pitch Zoe to Carrie. I think that, like, our relationship at that point was Like, I mean, like, I don't know. We're about to both be in the final three. Like, I'm trying to help you out. You're trying to help me out. We're obviously both going for each other in the end. So it's kind of like an interesting dynamic because we're picking which people we want to try to be beating in the end.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that maybe she was so like indecisive at that point. Like watching it back, like it's she pretty much said like in the episode that she didn't know until she like went back to write a name down. I feel like she sold it to me a little bit better, and so I think that I felt like our relationship was a little bit closer. Like I going into that tribal felt pretty not like good because there's only 3 people you can vote for. So, but you know, like I felt confident like in her decision. Like I felt confident in our relationship at that point. And so I
Okay.
think she sold it to me a little bit better than she actually felt. With like how up in the air it sounded like she was between everyone.
Yeah. So I guess were you expecting to make fire, or was that just like a conversation between you and Zoe? Like where, because in the edit, it really was very indecisive. Like Luke was being very vague with where his vote was going between the two of you. Like he seemed to just be a yes man to whatever because he was thinking that you guys were blindsiding him anyway. And
Yeah.
then meanwhile, like Carrie is calculating the jury votes, and you and Zoe are obviously voting for each other. So it is kind of an up in the air, decision in the edit. But like as you're sitting at final or at the final four, like are you like, okay, like are we bringing fire out right now? Like what were your thoughts with that?
I kind of feel like, yeah, like I was so confident that Luke was like on the same page as me. And so it really was like fully up to Carrie. And it was just like all about like, did I like convince it, like did I convince her enough? Which it's not even about me. It was about the other, like it was just crazy. But I think that in the moment I was fully like ready to like maybe go to fire. Like
Okay.
we like joked about it, like Zoe and I joked about it, but like I remember thinking like, oh, like if we actually have to make a fire right now, like what do you like start with again? Like, like thinking through like a little bit of fire making. I didn't know though, like I felt good and then I didn't feel good and then she went back to vote and you feel good. Like it's just like emotions are so up and down and you feel good 1 second and then as soon as you start reading the names you don't feel good. So I can't even say like how confident I was because I couldn't place like
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Well, you ended up making the final three. Zoe was the last person voted out of the game. And we see Sydney give you a big hug. Congratulations. Like, before you guys go to the final tribal council, even. So I guess, yeah, tell us a little bit about that. Like, did it resonate? Like, both of us have made final tribal before, never been, the Hickmots are unsnuffable. Like, what was that, I guess, feeling like for you to share that moment with Sydney?
Yeah, oh my gosh, it was like the best. I remember after like after making final tribal, we all kind of like on our own go and like give our little like pitch to like the cameras almost and like you make those good edits of us and stuff. And I remember like sitting on the train tracks with like Charlie and Sydney and like I was like getting emotional and it was like this is like so amazing that like I was a part of this experience with you guys and like Charlie was like thank you for like coming and like enjoying this with all of us. So it was definitely like a break from like the craziness of the game and getting to talk with them. And, at that point, like you've kind of done all you can. Obviously, you're going to go pitch yourself, but it was like a break and like kind of you could take a breath and the game's almost over and kind of made it at least to final three. So it was really like special being able to be there with them and seeing them at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's always special for me too to be able to see those moments kind of happen. Like we got to see that last season in Fresh Meat where me, Charlie, Matt, like we planned all these, like Noah, we planned like all these things together, and our significant others, like or their significant others, got to play them with Sydney, Juliana, like Ryan last season, so they kind of got to do this, and this felt like a new batch of people. Like this was their friends have now been able to play it. And so like you're sitting there, Luke's brother played before, and Carrie with Noah. Like it was just kind of a, again, come to fruition moment. And it's always kind of I never want to like step on your guys' story because like this is like your guys' experience, but I always have to like give my little call outs to moments like those, because it's so cool. It's not like often that you get to see those storylines come to fruition. And it's not like you guys are all like, yeah, my sister is behind the scenes and like we got to like I got like an easy in on it. Like we saw you work for that episode by episode by episode to get to that point. So it's very cool to be able to see.
Yeah, it was so special.
So we go to Final Tribal, and right off the bat, we're getting some tough questions. We get a hard one from Samantha. We get a hard one from McGingo. Like, did you expect that jury to start off so bitter?
I feel like maybe not. But then again, like you can't like prepare. Like you don't know what they're gonna ask. I mean, like someone could go up and ask like what Hannah did. Like she totally gave us a break and was like, "What's been your favorite part of this?" So yeah. I mean, I didn't know. Like I didn't know who was going to be like the tough grillers, and I didn't know like where everyone was leaning at that point. I didn't know if people were going to ask us all the same question or like target us individually, and there was a mix of that. There was a mix of like intensity of the questions, so I feel like you can't like prepare that much for it. So it was all new.
Yeah, I talked with Luke about it, and it really seemed like Luke entered that Final Tribal really on the offensive of like, this is the moves that I've made, and more of like an expose game, where it felt like you especially had to play like defense of like explaining your moves of this is what I did, like this is why I did this. And Luke got to be able to showcase those moves more, and you had to defend those moves almost of your relationships. Did you feel that was the case?
Yeah, I did. I think that like it kind of just goes back to like the bonds that like were previously made, and like a lot of the people, probably most of the people coming into that Final Tribal like had their mind made up. And so, they're kind of like not like targeting, but like if they know they're going to vote for Luke, like they're kind of going to give him like a question to boost his story, versus if they know they're not going to vote for me, it's a little bit more like defend yourself. I didn't feel like I like had to like defend myself like in a bad way or anything, but I definitely felt like there were like a little bit different of like storytelling that was happening. So like I can follow what you're saying for sure with that.
Yeah. Obviously not like defend your actions against these people, but like it felt like your game, you weren't able to, or you maybe weren't even given like the opportunity to expand on some of the moves that you had. Like it felt like some of those plays that you were describing were, just in I don't know, like you weren't able to go as much in depth on some of those moves. And so I don't know if there was like an opening on those questions to even do that. And that might also just be part of our production side, because like we were like, hey guys, like we're running into like midnight right now. So that might have been on us to not give that time to address some of those things. But I also have to give a call out, because I texted Tyler after I edited that Final Tribal, and I was like, you are up there and you're like, I'm not giving you my vote. I'm not giving you my vote. Like, and I'm giving Luke my vote. And I was like, you come at Aubrey because like your pitch, or one of your pitches, was that you did not have your name written down until that last tribal council, which is a massive feat. And Tyler's whole thing was like, well, you would have had your name written down. I was like, but Tyler, she didn't. That was like the whole point. Like,
I know. I wish I could have like responded to that and been like, exactly. Like I didn't, like that was at what, like final 10 or something. And like you guys wanted me out so bad at that point, and like still here.
Yeah. That was one where I was like, dude, like you're totally okay with giving your vote to Luke, but Aubrey deserves that credit. Like she did not have her name written down until that final tribal, and you did attend the most. I think you and Carrie ended up tying for most tribal councils attended, but still, I mean, we saw Carrie get her name written down almost every other one, and you were empty-handed up until that final tribal or final four. So big kudos to you on that. And I guess, like, what were you expecting going, like, once they started getting up, I go back to go tally the votes. What are we expecting the results to be?
I knew I wasn't going to win. I mean, I feel like it's pretty difficult to like, there's like jury management, and then there's also just like the fact that some people got to work together and some people didn't. Like if you like look at the line, like the last 3 voted for me and the first 6 or whatever didn't. And I think a big part of that is like I just didn't have the time to like jury manage or whatever with those people. Like McGingo, my own partner didn't vote for me. Very valid. I never got to work with her really. And like some of those people that were some of the first boots in the merge, like there was just never like the chance for us to work together. Like we were from the beginning like pitted against each other really. And so I kind of knew that like that first grouping was probably not going to be giving me their vote. Very happy with the votes I got. I mean, I think that like it, I think it says a lot that like some of the later players in the game were able to like give me their vote and stuff. So, I mean, I didn't feel like I had like no chance of winning, but I was like not necessarily expecting it at that point just because of who was in the jury seat, not necessarily because of the games that were played.
Yeah, that's something we've talked about too, is it is kind of interesting, that divide of, the people later in the game that played most of the game with you gave you the vote, where the other people that have kind of been out of the game, that have only really seen Luke come to tribal council with immunity or like time and time again, kind of pinpoint him as that threat. And Zoe even said like she got out yesterday's podcast. When she got out, they were like, why didn't you go for Luke? And it was like, I didn't even think of that. Like that was not the perception at the time. So maybe if you had a couple other immunity wins in there, Aubrey, like you might have. I felt so bad editing that final 5 immunity challenge for you.
Oh my gosh. That was a low of the game. That was a low for sure. I remember like the whistle blew, you were like, we're good. And I was still on the other side. And I remember like taking a second on that other side and was like, don't get emotional right now. Like, it's okay. Like that was just like so tragic of a challenge. But
I remember I like looked at John Urbanek, like our challenge guy, and I was like, John, like, why can't they knock these down? Like they're not going so hard on these. And he's like, I tried it and like we did in like 5 minutes. And I was like, we have to give like a buffer for like the Urbanek like curve. Like he's just really good at challenges.
Yeah.
So we have to try.
And we're on day 3. Come on, like we need a curve.
So Aubrey, I mean, we're going on 2 hours. We've had a great deep dive of your game. There's so much to go over. So I really appreciate sitting down here, and those that will eventually watch this. We have no viewers right now, but that's okay.
That's okay. They'll watch.
They can watch it later. But yeah, I guess what was your favorite memory, I guess, of the season? Like what was your big takeaway from the game? Like as a Survivor fan, like what was that like for you?
It was just like the greatest experience, like getting to play it. It's like my new fun fact that like I tell everyone, like it's just like crazy the amount of work that goes into it and like the planning. And I think like it's not like a specific part, but like my favorite part was just like watching like you guys and like the crew and stuff, and like seeing how much like went into it, because it's like one thing to like watch it on our screens and stuff, but being a part of it was like so different. And like getting to do all the challenges and getting to meet all the people were like incredible, like staying in contact with them and like seeing all their updates, like when you posted like the updates of like what's happened since, and like suddenly like everyone's engaged and everyone has a house and everyone's graduated, and it was just like, oh my gosh, like this is such a crazy cool like community that I get to be a part of now. So I think that's probably like just like the biggest takeaway is got to meet so many great people and like get closer with like people that I had just barely known, and now I feel like I know them pretty well and stuff. So just like an awesome group to be a part of. So
yeah, I mean, the community is my favorite part. It's really hard. It's unbeatable. It's just so fun to be able to see each other and have something to at least relate on of like, oh, remember that, but also to be able to just catch up, something that, people all over the Midwest, and, Mark flying in from Florida. So people all over coming into play. So obviously your parents watched, your family watched. Like, I guess, were they spoiled on the season? Did they know how good you did? Was there anybody that watched that was like, like shocked with how you did?
Okay, so I have a confession. So my parents and my siblings knew how I did, but My boyfriend is still currently watching because I've been in Asia the last month when the finale aired. So he hasn't seen the finale and he does not know how I did. So that's been a secret long in the making. So we'll see. Hopefully he's proud.
Yeah, you'll have to keep me updated on that. That's pretty fun. All right. So so we'll go into, actually, let's just go into our word association. So whatever we've been doing the word association, we haven't been able to do our PowerPoints because there's no people to give PowerPoints to anymore. So we're going to go into our word association. Basically, I'll list off everybody on the cast, and you just give me the first word that comes to mind, whether, of thinking of their game, thinking of them, watching them back. Some of them you might have played with throughout the whole game. Some of them you might have only been able to see their game on the TV. So just whatever you think, just let me know. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. First person, we have Adrian.
Funny. He watching his confessionals and he would be like, oh, we're going to the tribe, and the producer would be like, swap, or
Yeah, we talked about him a lot with Zoe. So yes, it was fun seeing Adrian figure out the game.
Yes.
All right, how about Allie?
Ooh, smart. It's kind of boring, but she was really locked in on who was working with who and when to make moves and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. And if you have to reuse the adjectives, feel free to. We've had quite a few use strategic multiple times.
Oh, okay, that's a good one.
All right. How about Brooklyn? I don't know if you got to play with Brooklyn too much.
I didn't get to play with her, but from watching, chaotic, but awesome. She was just always doing flips and
All right. How about Chase?
Nice. It was just sad that he went home so early, and I never knew him. So.
Eli.
Maybe calculated. He was thinking about a lot throughout the game, very early locked in.
Okay. How about Grace?
Ooh, threat. Ooh. I think she would have been a big threat.
All right. How about Hannah?
I'm gonna go with ally.
All right. James.
Robbed.
He's been getting a lot of robs. Him and Grace have been getting a lot of robs.
Oh, really? Yeah. Robbed.
Grace has gotten robbed here and there. So.
Yeah, Chase too.
How about John?
Oh, star. He was just the star of the show.
Awesome. All right. How about Josh?
Surprising.
Okay. Josie.
Ooh, outgoing. Yeah. She was ready to make her own story.
Yeah. Carrie.
I think this might be the word she used to describe herself, but persistent or resilient. She went through a lot.
Yeah. How about Luke?
I'll say winner. He is a true, that was a true win in the books. He had a full game complete.
Magingo.
Partner, but we never got to utilize it.
All right. How about Boy Sam?
Ooh, I'll say sturdy, in challenges and in his alliances. He was really locked in on the people he was gonna be with.
Okay. Samantha.
Thoughtful.
Okay. Tyler.
Frenemy.
Okay. And then finally,
I think in another life we'd be in another game. We'll be number one allies.
Okay. And then finally we got Zoe.
Ooh. Dominant.
Okay,
It
sounds
was
good.
really, really strong game.
All right, great adjectives, Aubrey. I appreciate that. I think you've been able to give some good ones. Everybody else, we're still working out the kinks. So
Fair
we
enough.
were trying. It's something new, so we were trying something new, and I think you nailed some good adjectives there. So
Love it.
appreciate that. But Aubrey, we'll close out with one final question for you. So the future of Survivor Grand Rapids is up in the air, and I can say I probably have maybe one season left in me. That would be a Dearborn versus Grand Rapids one. That would be my dream to do that.
All right.
Where is your head at with coming back? How is putting out those feelers? What is your thoughts?
I'm there like the second you text. It
Awesome.
was just the best weekend ever. Like yeah, 100% back.
So
If I would be so honored.
we would love to have you. So we I don't want to put receipts out there. So I've been again prefacing this with this next question with don't want to put too many receipts out there. But if you were to come back to play, what would you do different? Like what is your game change to come back and play?
I think that if I came back, like I would come in with like a way bigger target on my back than I did this time, obviously. Like I came in and no one knew me, and now I would come in as runner up. So I think that I would like almost have to like lean into that and like maybe be like big from the beginning. Like I feel like this time it was easy to like kind of sit back at the beginning, but maybe next time it's like leaning into that. And like also if it's the type of season you're describing, everyone's going to be a threat, so it'll be kind of easy to blend in with threats like that. So we'll see.
All right. Well, I mean, just
Don't give
envision.
away all the secrets.
Yeah, I mean, just envisioning it gets me excited. Maybe I'll open up the notebook and see if we can start planning it. But until
Love
then, Aubrey, it's been an absolute blast revisiting our summer 3 years ago. What do you want to leave the audience with? This is your final send off of your experience with Bad Blood. You know, leave us with something about your experience, and yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was like the best weekend ever. I tell like it's my fun fact. I tell all my friends about it. Like they've all gotten into it. I mean, I cannot say thank you enough to you, Dom, and to the whole crew, and to Charlie and to Sydney for like letting me be a part of this. It's such a unique experience, and I like would do it 1,000 times over, and would tell anyone ever to do it. It's like a little scary at first, but things like this are definitely where you're able to like grow as a person and meet such amazing people. So just thank you for the opportunity. Like it's been amazing, and hope I get to come back.
Yeah, Aubrey, I mean, my final send off to you. It was such like since the moment you sat down, it was so awesome having you there. Like, kind of rarely do I put these on and I meet somebody new through it. And like, I think the first time I met you was when you sat down to do your first interview. So you sat down, did your interview, and I immediately was like, okay, like Aubrey, you're really good. I'm gonna go back and rewatch my cast assessment to see where we're at. But it was you carried yourself with such a good like such a mature nature and approach to the game, but also in this like very appreciative way that I as the host and the creator and everything really did appreciate. And that carried on throughout the season. I loved watching your confessionals. I loved watching your game unfold. You had such a great read on everything, and being able to, come together for experiences in between filming and airing, and with the wedding and everything with Charlie and Sydney. Like, it's been so special to be able to add you to our community, and also be a friend. So I appreciate your time today, Aubrey, and your experience. It's been so great. And thank you so much for doing this. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we can be back in the backyard.
Love it. Thank you seriously so much. Best experience ever.
Of course. Well, for those tuning in, 2 hours, 8 minutes. I think that's our longest one we've got so far. But I think that's more the fact that we're getting better at doing these and sharing more stories. So tuning in, appreciate you listening. Aubrey, thank you for playing. We have 2 more on our deck. I think we have Hannah on Wednesday, time still to be determined. And then Eli, we're still trying to get scheduled. So just stay up to date on our social media for that. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and you guys can all head back to camp. Good night.
Thanks.